Hi again then guys, and welcome to the 98th episode of B-Road Ballers, the review series for the hot hatches of Gran Turismo, and also the vehicles which are hatchbacks, but which aren't necessarily hot. They might be more sleeper hatches, for instance, with performance potential, but without the wings and the intakes and the sporty body kits that a hot hatch would typically have. And this vehicle definitely falls more into that second category. Now, on a small side note, before we get into it, I've sped up the footage in this week's video to hopefully overcome some of the jinkiness of the playback. I still haven't been able to solve that core issue. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but hopefully, at least for now, that's about as best as I can do to solve that. Now, this car has only been featured on Gran Turismo 2. It's the Lancia Y, as it's called on the game, aka the Lancia Ypsilon, I guess, and this is based on the Fiat Punto. Not too surprisingly there, Lancias have quite a lot of underpinnings with Fiat, and this car is probably one which most people wouldn't particularly find that exciting, or a vehicle which you should go out of your way to buy. With me, with my weird taste in cars, I go straight to vehicles like this. I love the way this car looks. It's the kind of vehicle which probably divides opinion quite heavily. It certainly has an oddball appearance, but it draws me in immediately because it looks like nothing else on the market. If I had to say what it looked like, I would personally say if Maserati made a hatchback in the 90s, this probably is what it would end up like. It has that kind of Ghibli-esque appearance, at least to me. Now, what you get from the vehicle, because at the end of the day, being based on a Punto, it could be really good, because some of the Puntos on Gran Turismo have been outstandingly good hatchbacks, or it could be just okay. So which one is it? Well, I would err more on the side of really good, actually, and not an expected one in that regard. Now, we're going to talk about the race modified version, the RM conversion, which a lot of cars had on Gran Turismo 2 and Gran Turismo 1 as well for that matter, later on in the video. And that's something that I'm going to start to do in these Gran Turismo 2 and 1 reviews, showing the difference that the race modified conversion makes to the car. Now, in standard form, but nevertheless fully upgraded, this car puts out some pretty good numbers. It's only got a 1.2 litre engine, it's a turbo unit. When you fully upgrade it, front wheel drive, as you'd assume, you're looking at 208 horsepower. That's not bad. It's not amazing, but it's definitely not bad for a 1.2 litre non-high performance engine. The torque is also surprisingly high for a small capacity unit, 161 pound-feet, and as you'd assume, it's pretty light, 837 kilos, or in racing form a little bit less, and as I said, we'll get to that in just a second. I hadn't actually realised that the race conversions made a difference to the spec of the car. I thought it just changed the looks, but apparently not, because it did make this vehicle a little bit lighter, which is pretty cool to know. Some other vehicles it doesn't do that with, but with this one at least it does. Now, the price tag on this car is 22,000 credits. So, it's not the cheapest of hatches, certainly not non-hot hatches, but it's not ridiculously priced either. It's relatively affordable. Obviously, the cost of tuning adds to that significantly, but in base form, 22 grand isn't bad. So the question is, how does it perform? Well, actually, really well. And in racing form, it gets even better. Now, around this particular track, the racing conversion made the car around 2 or 3 seconds quicker when you compare the best lap times. And you can kind of see from this replay the difference in racing line that the race conversion makes. You can hold a much tighter line through the corners with that racing conversion. It's expensive. It's 80,000 credits just for that one thing. So, as with any car on Gran Turismo, you can put a lot of money into it. But the ability that this car has, although not earth-shattering, is definitely good for lower-powered events, as I mentioned with the Tommy Kyra micro-based M13, which is great for under 200 horsepower events. With this car, you can easily get it under those same events as well, just remove a couple of parts. Overall, the performance on this car is surprisingly good. Through corners, there's a little bit of understeer there, as you'd expect from a car that is not really a full-on hot hatch, so of course when you give it more power and torque, you're going to feel that. And there's a little bit of torque steer, though not much, really. As far as top end speed, you can see it tops out in this video at just over 200 kilometers per hour. That's because I didn't bother changing the gearing, so it could definitely go higher than that quite easily, maybe 220, 230 or even higher. Again, pretty good for its power. So overall, although this isn't a car which everyone must buy, it's definitely an interesting alternative, and the fact that it's only featured on Gran Turismo 2 just adds to how cool Gran Turismo 2's car list is, at least in my opinion. I know there are plenty of people who don't care about cars like this and go to the more obvious stuff of like the Espace F1s, the Lotus Elise GT1s, the Vectors, the Venturis, and I love those too, but I also love these vehicles, the smaller, more everyday cars that you wouldn't expect Polyphony to focus on. I miss that, and this is a great example of such. Totally divides opinion, but it's actually a pretty good track car. And personally, I think it looks pretty good as a racing car as well, running in, on this particular occasion, the colours of HSG, red, white and black. And you can change the colours as well to blue and yellow. I believe one was grey and black. There's a weird kind of blue and orange. So you've got options there. Overall, it's definitely a car that's worth checking out. Obviously, it's not earth-shattering in the grand scheme of things, but it's fun, it looks quirky, and it's definitely unique. But that's it for this pick overall. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.